2026 is shaping up to be a massive year for movies, not just because of big releases, but because entire franchises are on the line. Marvel is trying to regain momentum. DC is rebuilding from the ground up. And video game movies are no longer underdogs. They're becoming real contenders now. So today, we're going to be breaking down 6 of what I believe are going to be the biggest movies to define 2026. Which ones are going to be the biggest hits and which ones might struggle? Well, we'll find out when it comes out. I would say for the first contender will be Avengers Doomsday. I'm going to say regardless of whatever the story is going to be, that is probably going to be Marvel's biggest hit of the year. I wasn't sure after Endgame there'd be a big hit for Marvel, because so far the most impressive movies I've seen from Marvel is pretty much between Deadpool and Wolverine, as well as Spider-Man No Way Home. But that's just because of the nostalgia factor for bringing in familiar actors such as Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and of course, Hugh Jackman. But after several divisive phases, Marvel definitely needs a win, not just financially, but emotionally. This movie has to remind audiences why they cared about the MCU in the first place. Though I always say bring in 4 different teams along with some of the original Avengers is going to mean something. Already there's going to be some big crossover appeal, especially with the original X-Men actors coming back. And that's probably the tip of the iceberg between this and the next movie in terms of guest stars. Plus it's nice to see Chris Evans coming back as Captain America this time. Between you and me, I cannot wait to see what Steve Rogers is going to react to seeing both Red Guardian and US Agent. Now, what could drag this movie down is, from what I've heard, the runtime. It's going to be about 3 hours and 4 minutes long. Not to mention doing the whole multiverse thing again, because it's definitely been tired out. And I feel like with so many characters, there may not be enough development, not enough heart, but we'll see. Because so far, this still feels like more of a setup instead of a payoff, so audience might notice something. But all in all, this definitely could be a box office hit, combined with the nostalgic factor and the unique choice of casting RDJ as Dr. Doom. Next up from Marvel is Spider-Man Brand New Day. And this might surprise people by going smaller instead of bigger. Now again, there's not an official teaser to show what this is going to be, but for one, I'm glad that the title of this movie doesn't have to go with the usual home-based. And it's nice to see a movie that's going to be more grounded to focus on Peter Parker and how he's going to adjust to everything after the last movie. Now, I think why this will work is that we're bringing Spider-Man back to its roots, for he is Marvel's most marketable and popular character. And I think it works better that he doesn't have the Stark fund to finance his things. Plus, we get to see more of his costume from the end of No Way Home, because I feel like that's probably Tom Holland's best look so far. Though as far as for special guest stars, what's confirmed so far is that we're going to have, once again, John Bernthal back as Punisher, after his brief appearance in the Daredevil revival series. The expectations might be a bit too high, which may drag this film, and still, we're not quite sure what the story is and how this will work. But I say we'll come to that once we get some teaser trailer or something to see what's going to happen, for I believe that this movie is going to come out this summer. But still, you can't go wrong with Spider-Man.
We ready?
Now, on the DC side, we're continuing where James Gunn left off from last year's Superman movie, this time with Supergirl. Though, funny enough, while this movie may have some James Gunn style of the DCU, he's not directing this. This movie definitely looks a little bit more emotionally driven while still having some comedic aspects. Though it looks like the initial trailer has left viewers sort of 50-50 on it. Still, DC can definitely tell focused and meaningful stories again, because I think it's important to showcase that Supergirl is her own character, not completely the same as Superman. And another plus is that we get to see Jason Momoa take on the role of Lobo after being Aquaman for the previous DC movies. Still, based on the reaction from the teaser trailer, people don't seem to be quite as excited about this movie compared to the last one, even for people who are fans of the source material, because they're hoping it would be more faithful to the Woman of Tomorrow storyline. But sometimes I feel like that as long as the themes of the story are there, you always can't do a complete adaptation of a storyline perfectly. You gotta find a way to make it work, especially to fit within a 2-hour movie or so. But still, this should be a box office success, especially if it's gonna lead to the next Superman movie, Man of Tomorrow.
Okay, this does not look like this is gonna end well for you guys.
Now let's go with the video game side of things. Starting with Mortal Kombat 2. The first film was divisive. Fans loved the violence, but the story and characters didn't really land to most people. But it looks like this sequel seems to give fans exactly what they want. Because so far, they're definitely going with the tournament style of things, because that's usually how it goes with the Mortal Kombat storyline. Not to mention more iconic characters, especially with Carl Urban as Johnny Cage.
Johnny Cage, you have been chosen to fight.
Tell me you're not some crazy fans.
Are you coming or what?
Not my first choice, but after seeing the first trailer, I think he's definitely going to be one of the biggest highlights of the film. Because it looks like they went with a very mixture of how Johnny Cage looks in Mortal Kombat 11 as an influence. Plus, the fighting choreography and the brutality, it definitely matches with the gameplay. Now, the risk is that this could be all gore and no substance. So it may tune out some major audiences who are not familiar with the franchise, but still this could be a cult hit potential. Not a billion-dollar movie success, but still probably a stronger fan reception than the first movie.
It's showtime. Praise him!
Next, there's Street Fighter. This is a franchise that's never truly worked well on the big screen. Until now, maybe. Now, much like with Mortal Kombat, this should definitely has some excellent fighting choreography and hopefully with a decent story, especially building upon nostalgia for the franchise. It looks like they've managed to find some really good casting choices for some fan favorites. And again, with Jason Momoa as Baraka. The only thing I'm debating is the questionable casting of David Dastmalchian as Bison. Because to me, like Bison, he has to be like tall, intimidating kind of villain. And with David, he's not a bad actor, but I feel like it's a bit miscast because this is the guy who was Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad. Unless he does something that surprises the fans in the movie, then we'll see what happens. But honestly, I feel like I would agree with some fan posters of John Cena as Bison instead. But hopefully the tone balances out some of the fun aspects along with the seriousness, depending on what the story goes. Finally, there's the Super Mario Bros. Galaxy movie. This one's probably gonna be the safest bet on being a big hit, because the last movie made over $1 billion in the box office. And this sequel is gonna expand upon the universe into full galaxy-hopping chaos.
What do you think?
It's trash.
How dare you look at my masterpiece and say that? I'll burn the skin off your bones!
So I would say that the family is gonna really love this, and given with a huge fan base overall before either movies came out, this is gonna be a big success across the entire world, especially for mass viewings, because we're gonna get more characters like Princess Rosalina, Bowser Jr., and probably a few more. The only thing that could drag it down is if it's playing too safely with how to be creative with this, and just like certain other movies, depending on if they're gonna put too many characters into this, because the Mario Bros. Franchise is pretty big with a lot of characters, especially for the bad guys. Still, this movie will definitely be a guaranteed blockbuster, and very possibly the highest grossing movie of the year.
Who is this? Yoshi.
So when you look at 2026 as a whole, Marvel is probably going to be at the biggest for the superhero content, as DC will probably be ranking up pretty close, as they're still trying to rebuild everything after the previous shared universe. And with the video game movies, they're definitely going to be climbing up to be on even par with the superhero movies. So this year won't just decide which movie makes the most money, it'll decide which franchises audiences still believe in. So be sure to let me know in the comments, which of these are you most excited for, and which one do you think is the biggest risk or success? And be sure to also put down which other movies you think will also be a big hit besides the ones I mentioned.